Most of our business, honestly, 90% of it is a phone call in saying, we'd like you to come and have a look at our house. We're thinking of selling.
Most agents think to build a premium brand, you need to sacrifice your life to do it. But Sue and Damien proved the opposite.
I used to say to the new people coming into work when we were at Bailey's, we held that top spot in the Bailey's Fonderay office for 8 consecutive years on that mantra. You don't have to run every 5 minutes. It made no difference for our business.
This is how a husband and wife team built a premium brand without burning out, and how everything that you've been told about work-life balance in real estate could be wrong. Before they became one of Whangarei's most recognisable teams, their paths into the industry couldn't have been more different.
For me, always loved property. I was a school teacher. I felt like a caged lion, and my ex-husband was with Bailey's and said, this is what you should do, and I did. And we started off together and went crazy busy. He had a breakdown. I carried on. I don't know what that tells you, but anyway, I enjoyed it. And here we are. And then, not quite here we are, but life takes you in different directions. Damien and I were colleagues at Bailey's at one stage, and we both left the industry. We both had relationship changes and stumbled across one another, and I was getting back into, real estate swing, and so was Damien, and we decided to date and join forces. So that's 2006 till now.
Not much. My first job in real estate, I was 19 years of age, 1987. So we're going back a long way. I guess I've been, sorry, you are. Most people weren't. So no, a long time ago, it was one of my first jobs out of school. I did property management on the North Shore of Sydney. Progressed to sales, went up the coast to a place called Port Stephens. I worked there for a few years. And then my then New Zealand wife and I and our kids moved over to New Zealand. Her mother was principal of a real estate office in Whangarei, so I started working with her over here. And then, similar to Sue's story, sort of zigged and zagged and ended up in another company, and then left real estate again and came back and then started this latest iteration of my real estate career with Sue back in, it would have been 2014, I think. So we've been doing this now up here as a unit for 11 years. And started with only,
a year ago.
just over 12 months ago, yeah.
What's right is more than wrong for me. So on a business level, the two minds and the fact that you can spitball off each other the whole time, whether it's writing an ad, whether it's stringing up a deal, or just sharing with somebody what's going on any given day. But the two brains are far better than one. I think for us, we're very yin and yang. We're very different. So just the balance, I think that's nature more than nurture. What we don't get right, what we do also get right is we have wonderful holidays together, because if we were in two different sectors of employment, getting that to line up wouldn't give us the flexibility. So we travel well, and we have a reasonably good balance in our life where we're, having our weekend, so to speak, Friday, Saturday. If we're lucky, we can squeeze in a Thursday afternoon or whatever as well. So we've got that togetherness, which working as a couple is fabulous. The downside of it is that you're always on the job. Even when you're trying to have time off, it's hard to switch off.
I think we're fortunate that all of our kids are older now and relatively self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't like to be doing this with my partner and young kids. I think that would be extremely challenging. I mean, you could do it, but I think they'd probably miss out. But I think when we started this, 2014, my kids were
15, whatever it was.
Yeah, Sue's were 15, 16, just in that last sort of bit before their schooling finished. Mine had left school. It certainly helped us. But as a result of that now, and I think coming across to Only, I'd say our work-life balance is better than it's ever been, without question.
I think if you've got young kids, well, even without children, I think in this industry, and I used to say that to all the new recruits when we were at Bailey's, I'd always slide them over our way, and I used to say, learn to say no. You don't have to run at the drop of a hat. People will fit in with you if you just ask them. And I think, hard with young children. I certainly stepped back into being a school teacher for a couple of years because I did feel that even when I was present, I wasn't. But that was more about taking control of being present. So it's doable. You've just got to discipline yourself.
And that mindset became the cornerstone to their success. Serve people at a high level, but make sure you protect your time while doing it.
For me, I thought if you were a client wanting to see your specialist, your accountant, your lawyer, your any other professional, and if their diary was full and you couldn't get into them till the next day or next week, usually it's only a day or two that affects our world, or an afternoon or a morning or whatever. That's how I used to rationalise it. I used to think, well, if it was another professional, they would still go. And then the other thing I used to say to myself was, well, what say I am away? What say I am on holiday? What say we're on a conference like we've just been in Fiji or whatever? You're quite within your right to be allowed to be somewhere else. And I am not backwards and going forwards to say, sorry, I'm out of town, even if I'm not, because if you're in town, they expect you to drop what you're doing and run to do something. Whereas if you just say, look, sorry, I'm wherever out of town, you're not there. You can't be there. And it hasn't made a scrap of difference. We made that decision relatively early in our business relationship, in our relationship full stop. But I used to say to the new people coming into work when we were at Bailey's, we held that top spot in the Bailey's Whangarei office for 8 consecutive years on that mantra. You don't have to run every 5 minutes. It made no difference to our business.
Once the boundaries were set, the business finally had the opportunity to grow. And instead of marketing like every other agent in regional New Zealand, they decided to show up like a big city brand.
I think it was marketing for us, our journey. I can remember those early months, years working together when Sue and I joined forces. We very much sort of became sponges for everything that was happening in the real estate world. We'd go to Australia fairly often. We'd go and see the likes of Glenn Twiddle for his, strengths and weaknesses. He, some gold in amongst all of that Aussie larrikin style that he has. We'd been to Melbourne. We'd been to quite a few real estate conferences, and a lot of it was trying to grab onto what people were doing that was a little bit different. And as a result, there were a few things we did. One of them, I think we saw a really simple just sold, and it had some key figures in it, which today everybody's doing. But honestly, back in 2014, I suppose, it wasn't very common. So on the back, we started to do these little infographics. So it'd be the number of people that came through, and we added to it. So the number of times we vacuumed the floor after an open home, the number of suites that we distributed during the open home, some funny facts, some really nuts and bolts stuff. And because we were doing everything in the auction room, it allowed us to put that out into, into the atmosphere with really detailed, how many bids, how much it sold for. So we started pushing that around the neighbourhoods in a big way and spending a lot to do these really classy sold cards that had a lot of information. People took notice of that. The callbacks that we got straight away were terrific. We did a lot of profiling in the local newspaper, our local property guide, which is where all the papers are advertised. Whangarei is a little bit unique, perhaps, because of the size of the town in terms of where our local real estate publication sits in. Everybody's reading it over lunch or having a cup. You know, it's still fairly well read. So we spent a lot of money profiling in that. And then I suppose it snowballed, and every time we sold something, we made a big noise, and we went from, I think, probably May of that first year, we got to, it was sort of midwinter, and sold a property just up the road in Church Street, really special property. We had a fantastic turnout, and really, you know, we had the barista at the open homes and little things like that I think today you'd look at it and go, well, that's fairly common, but back then it wasn't. So we really wanted to, at that point, had, I guess, the help of the Bailey's brand, and where we saw that we sat in amongst the market. So we made a decisive move to speak to the top end. We had some little catchphrases that we used. It was a reputation for achieving premium results. Another campaign that we did was selling Whangarei's finest homes. And I think all of these sort of just gave us traction and helped us raise our profile. And then again, every little step that we made, every little milestone that we achieved, everything that we did that we'd never done before, we sung it loud and proud from the balconies and pushed that out there. And I think that's probably what made the difference. And I think probably the cornerstone of all of that was the fact that Sue and I were very details driven, results focused. We had great relationships with our vendors and purchasers. What we were doing was well received. We were getting great results in the auction room. We didn't have a lot of chinks in our armor. We had an extraordinary PA at the time. So I think we were running a good business and just really bragging about it, to be honest. And I think it struck a chord with the local market, and we haven't really looked back. I mean, we still do a lot of promotion, but most of our business, honestly, 90% of it is a phone call in saying, you know, we'd like you to come and have a look at our house. We're thinking of selling.
Yeah, just celebrate any success that you can think of. And as Damien said in the beginning, those infographics and those DLE cards, people used to ring us and say, oh my God, you sold this house for so much X above CV. Can you come and do that for me too, you know? And it's just because they've read that on the back of the card. So whatever, and we still do this, but we were really big on it back then. And the other thing was informative newsletters. So we have once a month in the local property guide in print. It would go to database, obviously, as time went on social. This is something we are working on now to get back into that. We're just trying to get the graphic design right. And also in our farm area. So we would do 1,200 print off that. So on one side might be some of our success stories of recent sales in the area, and on the other side would be whatever, we could pull out a Rhines for that month and anything that was relevant to our neighbourhood, because people are thirsty for real estate knowledge. So it's easy to go in there and brag on about how I'm the next greatest wonderful real estate agent, which is what everybody does. But it was that thought of what can we tell people that they actually want to know. And then you come across as the specialist. You come across as knowledgeable. And so we were doing just everything, all that stuff.
But as the brand grew, they realized something. They weren't just winning the listings because of the name above them. They were winning it because of the reputation that they'd created.
So I think we'd hit that fork in the road. We did all of those things that we just talked about, the development of... we worked under a brand of our own. So there was Bailey's, and we established ourselves as Sue and Damien Property Team. So we were Sue and Damien Property Team under Bailey's. Everything we did, we were, as we said, going overseas to figure out this, having a look here, going down the line, constantly reviewing what everybody else was doing. It was Sue and I that were coming up with these ideas and then implementing them. And I think that may be true of a lot of sort of top performers. They sit in that office. They may be lucky enough to have a director or a principal that understands and appreciates what they're doing and pays that back. But I think the common story more often in real estate is that you start earning good money and largely get left alone. I mean, we were in some ways pleased to be left alone. In other ways, we felt
hungry for more support.
Unsupported, really. And so you get to that point in your career where we're earning good gross commission and they're taking over half of it. And it slowly, if not quickly, becomes a really simple case of what are we getting for this return for them, you know? And the answer was not much. They talk about the potential shares in the company, which doesn't really work. Golden handcuffs, as they say. It was going to have us there without much say, but stuck. So that didn't make a lot of sense either. And then you get somebody like Sam that comes along with a concept that just makes so much sense. I mean, we'd done all the hard work with our brand, with our profiling. We weren't getting listings because we had, a big name above us. We were doing what we were doing because of the work that we'd put in. And the model that Sam has it's just music to the ears, really, when you get to that point. The only bit is just that little bit of self-confidence, just knowing that if we do this, it will continue to happen as well, if not better, because you get to put a little bit more of your own flavour into it. Some companies are more strict than others. Bailey's are very strict in what you're allowed to do with your profiling. It's company first, and then you get to do your little bit. And we have found, when we came across the resources in terms of obviously support, there's some incredible enthusiasm and some real desire to see people succeed that you see come out of Only's head office. But also, Sam's been there, he's done it. And so have all the people that are there. They know what you need to be supported, and that's there in spades. And another element that we just really started to understand, I think a few weeks ago when we went to Fiji, was so much resource in amongst these other brand owners that are all top performers in themselves and so willing to share, so openly, I'm doing this, you should try it, it's worked really well, which is not something that real estate often has. Well, not from our experience anyway. Most people are being a little guarded in what's working for them, but yeah, it's flipped a lot of conventional thoughts about real estate on their head, I think, being here. The generosity, the friendliness, the support, all of those things, and everything in place there to support you. It's pretty hard to go wrong. And I think most of the people that would be thinking of making that decision would be at a place now where they've done everything at least once, if not twice, in their career in terms of creating something from nothing. So I guess just, for them to understand the support that's available for them, I think...
and it's quick.
Yeah.
So, when you're in the corporate, whether it was our experience being Bailey's, which, good brand, but nothing ever happened quickly. So if you want to do something now, you do it. And whether that's of your own doing or whether it's reaching out to one of you guys, any one of the team, the response is instant compared to what we came from. And that's
good. I think that one, in terms of the
collegiality,
the willingness of the other brand owners to give you as much or as little as you need or want. You know, there's some, you scratch your head and wonder how they've got the time to be there for everyone, but they are.
That's testament to Sam and you guys, I think, for shoulder tapping the right people. And I think that's a huge part of it. I mean, that last trip we did, we all really felt was, I mean, all trips we've done are great, but this was next level. You really felt like a family.
Leaving the big brand wasn't about risk. It was actually about alignment, more support, more freedom, and an opportunity to work the way that they want. And the biggest surprise was a group of top performers that support, push, and encourage each other to be the best that they can be. Sue and Damien built a premium brand by backing their skills, protecting their time, and showing attention to detail. And maybe the real lesson is this: you don't need to burn out to be brilliant.